year 7 to this session of year 7 history, the Roman Empire. I'm beginning right now, the origin of the Roman Empire. Already we've covered 3 topics earlier on. We started by looking at sources of history. How do historians know what happened, especially during the reign of the Roman Empire? And then we looked at archaeology as being a very important source of history. We looked at archaeology as important source of history. We realized archaeology is a scientific area where historians study the artifacts and fossils, and they're able to reconstruct history. So archaeology, very important. We answered the question, what can archaeology tell us? What can archaeology tell us? And the third topic, we were able to answer the question, can you always trust historical sources? Can you always trust historical sources? So we have already looked at 3 topics in year 7 history, the Roman history. Today we are handling the 4th topic, and we are going to look at the origin of the Roman Empire. We are going to look at the origin of the Roman Empire. We are going to trace the Roman Empire into 3 phases. The Roman Empire into 3 phases. Look at the origin. Then the first phase, we are going to look at the Roman Empire as a kingdom. It was ruled by 7 kings. So we are going to look at the era of the kingdom. We are going to look at the era of the kingdom. And then the last king, Tarquinius Superbus, was because he was harsh, brutal, and undemocratic. He was a dictator, very proud, cruel, and harsh, and he was overthrown. The last king, so we have the 7 kings who rule the Roman kingdom. Then there's going to be the Roman Republic. There's going to be the era of the Roman Republic, and that is when people now started electing their leaders at that particular time. And Julius is going to feature very significantly during the Roman Republic. And then lastly, we are going to have the Roman Empire and the first emperor, Augustus Caesar, the first emperor, Augustus Caesar. And it was during the reign of Augustus Caesar that we have the birth of Jesus Christ. So the Roman Empire, we are looking at it from the beginning, the roots from the beginning of the Roman Empire to its expansion in those 3 major phases. So right now we begin the lesson by trying to look at the roots. How did the Roman Empire begin? The roots of the Roman Empire. How did it begin? How did it start? And we are going to realize one thing, that it started as a small, tiny village. Started as a small, tiny village near one river known as River Tiber. Very small, very tiny, humble beginning of the Roman Empire. Very small, tiny, a small village near River Tiber, expanding to the hills nearby, the 7 hills, and one hill is very important. The Palatine Hill is very important, and this was the era or the epoch of the Iron Age period. One would place the Roman Empire in the Iron Age period at that particular time. So very small, very insignificant, very humble beginning. The Roman Empire is going to expand its influence all over the world. One of the greatest civilizations after the Greek Empire will be the Roman empire will be the Roman Empire. So we are looking at a small beginning during the Iron Age period, then conquering the North Africa. We talked about Carthage, which is North Africa, controlling all the European country and expanding into Asia. You're talking of the most largest and most influential empire, the most largest and the most influential empire. So humble beginnings of the Roman Empire. That is the root, the origin, the beginning of the Roman Empire. And how do we know about the origin of the Roman Empire? That's the question we are asking ourselves. How do historians who did not live at that particular time know and understand about the Roman Empire? And we are going to look at two sources. We are going to look at two sources, and archaeology is going to play a very important role. There are no written accounts at this particular time. It's the era we call the era of prehistory. Therefore, archaeology will significantly play a role. And archaeological evidence says that the Roman Empire was started by farmers. The people who started the Roman Empire were farmers, and then these farmers lived near River Tiger and were very humble farmers, lived in mud huts at that particular time. So archaeology has backed up uh, that information. Archaeology has been used to reconstruct about the beginning of the Roman Empire. So very important perhaps to talk about the archaeological evidence. There's enough archaeological evidence to prove that. There is enough archaeological evidence to prove that. Then another source we are going to use to try to explain the beginning of the Romans is oral tradition. Is oral traditions, and we define oral tradition as a word of mouth passed from one generation to another. And therefore, the Romans have stories. The Romans have stories which have been passed from one generation to another, how they began. Every generation is told about that story, perhaps to inspire them to be more patriotic, to know their roots, to know their beginning, so that they become more patriotic, making them to become nationalists, inspiring the love of their country. Therefore, they have to know their roots. They have to know the beginning. How did we begin? How did we begin? And the most famous of these stories is the one I had highlighted in the first lesson, that the two twins, Remus and Romulus. Remus and Romulus, the two twins, were the founders of the Roman Empire according to oral traditions. According to oral traditions, we have the two twins. They were born and thrown in a river and then by a she-wolf, rescued by a she-wolf who breastfeeded them, and after that they were able now to become mature people, and then they overthrew the king who was there at that particular time. And then afterwards, there was a fight between Remus and Romulus. A fight took place between Remus and Romulus. They had a grudge, a strife, what we call a strife. And then Romulus was able to kill Remus, and he now became the leader of the Roman Empire, became the leader of the Roman Empire. So two sources are used to explain the origin of the Roman Empire. Two sources are used to explain the origin of the Roman Empire. We have what we call archaeological evidence, and we have what we call oral tradition. So historians will use that evidence to talk about the origin, the beginning, the roots of the Roman Empire. And then we want perhaps to be able to look at the three phases just in a simple, in a nutshell. In a nutshell, we want to look at Rome as a kingdom, then look at Rome as a republic, and then look at Rome as an empire. So Rome expanded in three major phases. Rome expanded in three major phases. The reign of the kingdom, the reign of the kingdom. We are going to have the son, the father to the son, and it went and like that until we have the last king who is going to be overthrown. Tarquinius Superbus. Tarquinius Superbus. He is going to be cruel. He's going to be harsh. He's going to be proud. And he was a dictator. And because of this, people resented and disliked him for his misrule. And therefore, he's going to be overthrown. Perhaps as a historian, we have uprisings that take place in the modern era. Also, in the Roman times, people will be talking about the citizen uprising coming against the king at that particular time, and Tarquinius Superbus was overthrown at that particular time. So we have the Roman kingdom, the rule of kings, the Roman kingdom, the rule of kings. After that, Rome enters into another phase. Rome enters into another phase, republic, and perhaps we'll start by defining the word republic. We'll start by defining the word republic. Republic coming from the word public. Public means people. Therefore, a republic means people electing their leaders. Republic means people electing their leaders. So we have the first people elected as leaders during the Republic. And one of the significant issues with the Republic, we are going to have a lot of strikes and we are going to have a lot of civil wars. And this is how Julius Caesar comes into power during the reign of the Republic. Julius Caesar is going to be very powerful leader of the Romans at this particular time. And because of his authority and power and influence, the Senate is going to plan and assassinate Julius Caesar during this particular time. So Julius Caesar was never given the title of an emperor. Julius Caesar was never given the title of an emperor, but he was very powerful, very influential until the senators were jealousy of him, and then they planned to assassinate him. So we are talking about the era of the Republic. We are talking about the era of the Republic, and Julius Caesar plays the most important historical person in the era of the Republic is going to be Julius Caesar. And right now, perhaps year sevens, we have just written notes on Julius Caesar as one of the great leaders of the Roman Republic at that particular time. So in the Republic, we have the organization, political organization. We had the consuls, we had the Senate, we had the magistrates. That's the political hierarchy during the time of the Republic. The political hierarchy during the time of the Republic. So we have all these people, and we have the citizen. Rome was a class society. Rome was a class society. We have the patricians, the rich citizens, the patrician, the rich citizen who had a lot of privileges, in the Roman Republic, who had a lot of privileges in the Roman Republic. And then we have the plebeians, the poor people, and they had less privileges, and the peasants resented the patricians. The peasants resented the patricians. So we have that kind of organization during the Republic. And then we had the voting system. We said a republic where people vote to elect their leaders, And then we had people who were not supposed to vote in the Republic. We then had people who were not supposed to vote in the Republic, and these were women and slaves were not given that privilege of voting in the Republic, and therefore the era of the Republic, after the era of the kingdom, era of the Republic, after the era of the kingdom, and therefore we have that kind of structure operating at that particular time. So that is the second phase. That is the second phase in the Roman, trying to trace the Roman beginnings. How did they begin? And what was the political structure? What was the social structure? And what was the economic structure of the Romans at this particular time? And then lastly, when we are talking about the origin of conquered more countries, Rome itself becomes the center of the powers. The governors were elected in these other countries to be able to head them. So Rome began the center of the power, very influential time, still influential up to this moment. We know the Roman Catholic Church headquarters. Still, somebody would say, still has the influence because the Pope is in Vatican City, and the Catholics are the largest Christian group in the world, and therefore, still the Rome, the city has that influence that was there during the Roman times. And lastly, just a glimpse, a brief overview of the emperors, how the emperor was. The first emperor, Augustus Caesar, features significantly at this particular time because, but left it as a city of marble, found Rome a city of clay. Better city was started during this time of Augustus Caesar. Ironically, the empire of Augustus Caesar, the empire did not adopt Christianity at that particular time, outlawed it until the time of Emperor Constantine, is when Christianity was officially adopted as the main religion in the Roman Empire. So Augustus Caesar, the first emperor, started on the right footing. The right emperor started on the right footing. And because of that, Rome will grow into one of the biggest empire. In fact, so big that it was divided into two, one in east, one in west, during the era of Emperor Diocletian. That's the time the Emperor Diocletian used to rule. So we have the division, the east and west. We have that east and west. Among the famous emperors, Hadrian, because of building the famous Hadrian Wall that separated the Romans from what we call the barbarians, separating the Romans from what we call the barbarians. So we have that expansion of the Roman kingdom. And then lastly, we'll be able to look at the decline of the Roman Empire. So small beginning, humble beginning of the Roman Empire, farmers living in mud houses near River Tiber, expanding to the Seven Hills settlement, Palatine Hill being one of the most important hills at this particular time during the era of the Romans. So tracing the origin and the phases, the three of them, the kingdom, the republic, and the empire, very important when you're discussing the origin of the Roman Empire. We are ending our lessons, and I believe by the end of these lessons, you are able to trace the origin and the three phases of the Roman Empire. So this is our fourth lesson in this series on the Roman Empire. Thank you for listening.